Welcome to the Huff-N-Stuff podcast, where we talk about board games, card games, and anything in the tabletop hobby. We're so glad you joined us, because we have loads of great stuff from our contributors like Perception Check. So sit back, relax, and join our show. And here we go!
I began to look round me to see what kind of place I was in, and what was next to be done, and I soon found my comforts abate, and that, in a word, I had a dreadful deliverance. For I was wet, had no clothes to shift me, nor anything either to eat or drink to comfort me. Neither did I see any prospect before me but that of perishing with hunger, or being devoured by wild beasts. And that which was particular afflicting to me was that I had no weapon either to hunt and kill any creature for my sustenance, or to defend myself against any other creature that might desire to kill me for theirs. In a word, I had nothing about me but a knife, a tobacco pipe, and a little tobacco in a box. This was all my provision, and this threw me into terrible agonies of mind, that for a while I ran about like a madman.
It's May 25th, Memorial Day weekend, episode 14. Today, I am at Steven's house, and we are sort of celebrating Memorial Day with gaming and good times over here.
Yes, we are.
We're enjoying, and I've particularly enjoyed hanging out with your family. You guys are cool people.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
We're cool people too, Rob.
You know, it's Memorial Day, and it's a time for family and friends and barbecues and all this. I don't mean to rush things, but I can't wait to get home. My wife is cooking up some smoked ribs. Ooh. I can't wait. We've got this special smoker that she has. It's about as tall as my youngest daughter. It's a big thing, and you can put in racks and all that.
Goodness.
I can't wait. If you were around, I would have you taste it, but I'm sorry. I'm going to keep it all to myself. Spend some time together and talk about some gaming. We did some gaming a little earlier in the front of the house. I said, let's break out the equipment and do a podcast and talk about some games here. What do you think? Sounds okay to you?
Let's get started.
Let's do it.
The very next day after this wall was finished, I had almost had all my labor overthrown at once, and myself killed. The case was thus. As I was busy in the inside of it, behind my tent, just in the entrance into my cave, I was terribly frighted with a most dreadful, surprising thing indeed. For all on a sudden, I found the earth come crumbling down from the roof of my cave, and from the edge of the hill over my head, and two of the posts I had set up in the cave cracked in a frightful manner. I was heartily scared.
Hey guys, now it's time to talk about what we've been playing recently.
That's right, Elise. Now we're going on to what we've been playing lately. I'm going to jump in here. Usually I'd let you jump in, but I'm in such a good mood because it's Memorial Day. I'm going to say last weekend I got to play Battlestar Galactica. Now this game was quite interesting. I've heard a lot about it, and still verdict is out for me with this game. I don't know how to rate it, to be honest. To me, it felt like a very complex version of The Resistance.
The Resistance, right?
It was a very complex version of that. And it had light wargaming things with the ships. It had other things going on, like repairing things, like repairing ships because they were damaged. They've got all those things that make The Resistance interesting. Although, I have to say that one of the things that I found a little frustrating is that there's two sections of the game. There's a part A and part B, and I'll just throw that out there. There's certain names for these events or these parts of the game. But for a layman's term, let me just say part A and part B. Part A, there's 1 or 0 Cylons in the game. So you get your cards that say whether you're a Cylon or you're a human being. Or whatever it is. A member of the crew that's not a Cylon. And so then you go through, and you don't know. There could be 1 or 0. Now, when you get to B, there's 2. So there'll be the original, and there'll be a secondary guy.
Okay.
Now, when it got to part B, I became the Cylon. It was random.
Okay.
It came around. And you know what? I didn't want to be. And usually when I play the Resistance, I love being the spy. That's fun as hell. And I was thinking about this. And why is that? Is because when I play the Resistance, I know from the get-go, from the starting gate, that I'm going to start trying to screw people over. And the problem is with Battlestar Galactica is not only did I not know the rules and I felt a little bit out of it, so I was really quiet. And everyone was like, he's so quiet over there. He's the Cylon. But the problem is that when you become the Cylon later on, it's like you don't want to be. Because you have invested in the ship's progress. Because basically what you're trying to do is you're trying to get from point A to point B with all the fleet. The human fleet.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And when that B part comes in the game, it's kind of a bummer. I was like, I don't want to be a Cylon. I want to keep helping the crew get to the end game. And so in some regards, I was kind of bummed about it. But now I was talking to my wife, who, by the way, loves the show. I'm not a big fan of the show, but she just absolutely loves it. And she's like, well, that's thematic. Because many of the characters in the show didn't even know they were Cylons.
Yeah.
And then at times they would be awoken, right, to realization that, oh, I'm a Cylon. Okay, I get it, right? So it became very realized.
Yeah,
It was thematic, I should say.
Uh-huh.
Okay? But not saying it was a bad game. We had some really fun people we were playing with. I think we were playing with 5 people. And Brian, I have to say, Brian is a good friend of ours. And he was sitting next to me, and as soon as that B part came, I was acting a little differently, and he picked up on it right away, and he's like, oh, Rob's it. Rob's a Cylon. I'm like, how did you know that? At the end of the game, of course. I didn't say it during. I'm like, just shut up or whatever. I was trying to throw him off or whatnot. But that game, I think we would have to take a few more plays of it for me to really know. If I'm going to play a game like that, I would rather play the Resistance. Yeah. Because it gets to the meat of the game faster. In Battlestar Galactica, it's very thematic, and I know a ton of people just adore this game. It's like, oh my god, it's the greatest game ever. The problem with it is, if you're not into the show, and you don't know the thematics of the Cylons not knowing their Cylons and this kind of thing, it's sort of, there's a lot of minutia. Now, some people would say, oh, well, that's because it's following the show. So, yes, it's in there for a reason. It's very thematic. It's very interesting. Yeah. But to me, I didn't care for it. I don't know why. Now, again, if I played it a few more times with some more friends and stuff, I'd sure have a great time with it. But at this moment, I'm not real fond of it. What is the game you have been playing recently?
One of them I was playing last weekend up at the cabin with my family. We were playing King of Tokyo. I have a couple of younger cousins. Okay. Well, my cousin has a couple kids that are younger, 5 and 6, and they actually played the game fairly well. So, cool. The game I think is supposed to be 8 and up, but they handled it pretty well, and they had a good time. Obviously, there's some sore feelings when they don't win, but that's kind of the lesson learned from gaming for children, right?
It lends itself perfectly to that age group.
Yeah, so I know that, I guess the theme kind of jumps out for that with the new Godzilla movie coming out, and that's kind of the play for King of Tokyo, is Godzilla and other monsters vying for Tokyo.
And I'm
not
sure
Godzilla.
And I'm
it's
sure those
Gigazor.
Oh, I'm sorry, Gigazor. That's right. The nondescript, legally okay to play, to have in your game, right?
Yes.
I can see kids just loving it, especially with the new film that came out. I'm sure the kids eating this game up.
I would suppose so, depending on what age the kids are. Yeah, if you're about 10, 13 age, that you go see the film.
Yeah.
I haven't seen the film. The game is wonderful.
Now, let's talk about 2, maybe 3 games that we played recently that we both played together, and we'll just kind of glaze over this one. But let's start with Merchant of Venus. Now, some of the guys in our gaming group, they asked if anyone had, and I said I did. And they said, can you bring it? I said, okay, we brought it. And I started to forget all the rules. I haven't played it so long that I forgot about a lot of the rules. Now, thank God all you guys were really patient and helped, through relearning some of the rules. What did you think? Give me some of your thoughts and ideas about the game.
I enjoyed the game. The dice system is pretty neat. I thought it worked pretty well, being able to set your dice and control how you're moving. I know we run into some situations where your progress is blocked if you don't get a certain dice, or you have to go the long way around.
Right.
So I know that's a frustration from the game, but I understand it, and it's something that everybody has to work through, depending on where they're flying. But I enjoyed the game, and I did end up winning. And I have to point out, you made the comment, 20 credits is no big deal. It's not going to win or lose the game. And I won by 10 credits, mister. So
that's funny.
It's a good game. I enjoyed it. The trading back and forth, and I got some interesting pieces of technology that allowed me to only travel so far and still complete objectives. I didn't have to go the whole way just because of a few mechanics, but I liked the game. I enjoyed it. I had a good evening that night.
One of the things about that game that people really like, well, I know I like about that game, is how the exploration, so you don't know what you're going to get when you go to a certain planet. That's number one. Number two, I really like when you're at a planet and you're trading with that planet, how the different tiles which represent the up or down market of that particular, race, how when you buy something, that market shifts. So you will move that top tile. There's three of them. There's an up, a middle, and a down.
Yeah.
And then let's say you bought it when it was up. Then you move that to the bottom of that deck. And then the next person that comes in will buy low or buy the middle, whatever comes up next on the top of the deck.
Yeah.
And that to me is a really interesting mechanism. We talked about that on the last episode.
Yep. I agree. It was interesting. There were a few times I got some credits, some really good quantities of credits selling certain items at a certain price. So yeah, it's an interesting mechanic. You can still play it to your advantage. It's not always a negative if you still need the credits to buy some other stuff.
Right.
So it works really well.
The other game that we played was Suburbia. We played that all night, and I don't even think we got it totally finished with it. Now, Suburbia is an interesting game. This is like the second time I played it. For whatever reason, I did not like. The first time I played it, I freaking loved it. So many people have said this game is a lot like SimCity, I believe, on
SimCity.
board game, with a board game. What did you think about that game?
I enjoyed it. I liked the building, laying out your little suburb as you're building different office buildings or housing complexes or different things like that. It worked pretty well. I forget who won, but not that it really matters
You
who
did.
won. Did I win?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, you did.
It wasn't by a lot, I don't think. But
I'm just giving you a hard time.
It was good. I don't, I'm not big on winning, losing. I play the game and enjoy it and have fun. And we were having a good time. One of the gentlemen that was kind of walking us through the rules, because the four of us that were playing, none of us had ever played before. We had a great teacher walking us through all the rules, and it made sense. And I don't know, it's a good game.
Yeah, it's good.
I'm not sure I would say it's a great game.
It is a great game, but it's a little, how do I say this, not dull, but it's the theme and the artwork is just a little blah. That's what I would say.
Yeah, it doesn't really stand out in any manner, but everything functions really well.
Right. The mechanisms in it and the way things work together, like the tiles and all that, it's just really good. I mean, that part of it's the theme and all that is a little dry, I guess I should say. I guess dry would be the best word for that game. It's just dry. If you can get past the dryness of it, I think that game would be good. And I think that my wife would really like that game. She's not yet played it. I borrowed it from Donna. I think I'm going to break it out tonight. I'm going to go home. It's Memorial Day. We're going to have some ribs, and then bam, we're going to break that out. And I'm like, sweetie, you need to play this. Yeah, and she likes building. And if you get into the part, this is, I think, the problem we had. A couple things. We were learning the game, and that's always a little bit of a drag. When you're learning a game, it's not fun. Learning games are not fun, especially complex ones. And it's a pretty complex game.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not the most complex game we've ever played, I think. But it's fairly complex. But I think that the building part of it, if you're focusing on building your little city, that's when I have a blast. When I'm not worried about winning, I was chasing you and points. And I was chasing and trying to shoot for getting 0 points. There's like these special objectives you can get. I was trying to shoot for the objectives that have the lowest this, have the lowest this. And there's like 4 or 5 of these things.
I remember. I didn't. That was Sarah won that one.
Oh, Sarah won. So that is what we've been playing.
It happened one day, going towards my boat. I was exceedingly surprised with the print of a man's naked foot on the shore, which was very plain to be seen in the sand. I stood like one thunderstruck, or as if I had seen an apparition. I listened, I looked round me, I could hear nothing, nor see anything. I went up to a rising ground. I could see no other impression but that one. I went to it again to see if there were any more. How it came thither I knew not, nor could in the least imagine. But after innumerable fluttering thoughts, like a man perfectly confused and out of myself, I came home to my fortification.
Hey now! We got something new and exciting for you guys! Yo! Video games are off the hook! So why don't we talk about that with our newest team, the Game Detectives, with Jason and Steven. Okay, take it away, guys!
Welcome to Video Game Detectives. Today we're going to talk about the development with Xbox. Say it.
Xbox.
Xbox come out with a drop in price of it was $4.99. Now it is $3.99, $5,000.
Yeah.
Now down to
$4,000.
No, just a small child's limb. No problem. I willingly give that.
A part of your kidney.
Not a problem. Part of your kidney. Your liver goes back, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you knew that. Anyway.
It's very small. Very small.
Price drop. $3.99 was $4.99. I bought it at top dollar when it included Titanfall. I felt that was a reasonable investment. Now they're dropping the price. But the catch is... What's the catch?
No Kinect.
No Kinect. There is no Kinect. You do not get Terminator 2 style infrared image mapping, thermal, nuclear, cancer causing potentially.
You just can't tell your Xbox to shut up. That's what I like about it.
You can't tell your Xbox to shut up.
That's what I like about Kinect. You can tell Xbox, hey.
I appreciate it.
Be quiet, Xbox. You're making me mad today.
It's true. It's true. I like to come home sometimes and tell my Kinect that I had a crappy day at work and that it needs to soothe me with some Killer Instinct and or possibly some Call of Duty.
Good thing about Kinect is it always listens.
It does always listen.
It very rarely talks back. Very rarely.
It's like the perfect man. It really is. If I was a woman. But, wait, that's, I think. Anyway. Perfect. Thoughts on getting the Xbox One without the Kinect? Steven, pros and cons for you.
Without the Kinect, I feel like, and I might be a little harsh here, but kind of selling out. I mean, you got to have the Kinect because that's the way it was built. With the Kinect, it was built for the Kinect. The software's programmed for the Kinect. I mean, I get Xbox trying to move some units, trying to lower the price because $5,000 is a lot of money for a lot of even for the most well-off adult.
That's a lot of plasma to donate. That's a lot.
Yeah, because unlike Jason here, I've been saving up for mine. I'll be getting mine here pretty soon, but only because it's so expensive.
Steven has not gotten his. I got mine on the what was it, in February? My birthday.
February.
My self-birthday present to myself, from myself, by myself, paid for by myself through reasonable tax contribution from having a child. So.
Yep, I have not gotten mine yet because I am married, and the wife's like, $5,000? We can buy a mattress for that. And I'm like, yeah, we could, or we could buy an Xbox One.
I mean, you do sleep a third of your life. I don't know. That's
reasonable investment. Her logic is sound.
Reasonable investment.
But I'd rather have an Xbox with a Kinect. Anyway, back on topic. The cons, for me, the cons is kind of a sellout move. It's designed to have the Kinect. Other users you'll be communicating with or online with will have the Kinect, and so it creates that that divide of people with and without, the have-nots. We're all a community. We all should have everything together. I feel like the pros for the Kinect is it's awesome, pretty much. Skype won't work without it.
True.
So,
lots of
and Skype
app activity.
Yeah, I mean lots of apps, things you would need to have the Kinect. So I feel like. Yeah, you could use a controller, but that's so 2002. You know what I mean?
It's true.
2014 is future. True. We should all be yelling at our TVs.
I should be able to say, microwave, nuke, pizza, from a pill. I can Back to the Future too.
Or in Fifth Element.
Oh.
Chick on good.
Good one. Chick on good. Yeah. Nice throwback. It is Thursday when we're recording this. So anyway, yeah, okay, I agree. Well, for me, I have an Xbox One. I have the one with the Kinect. Obviously, there wasn't a one without a Kinect before. Right. So for me, I actually see the benefit. Let's start with pros.
Okay,
pros for me, without a Kinect, having one with a Kinect, I can see how someone can get away with having one at that price, reasonably getting one and feeling good about it and being able to do some things with it that maybe, that they want to do. I don't use my Kinect as much as I thought I would. That's that.
Yeah, no one ever does.
Baseline
that's the thing about Kinect.
No one uses it. You think that it's awesome and it sounds cool and great. I've got this technology and it makes you feel good because guess what? Ooh, check it out, guys! Xbox on. And then my Xbox in the background just turned on. Did you hear that? It responded to my voice right now, which is not the norm. It does have some bugs. You still hear it. It has some bugginess to it. It doesn't always respond to me. Sometimes you got to yell at it. It depends on how you turned it on the first time. You got to be very robotic when you speak to it. There is a few bugs with that I think could have been improved on the Xbox 360's version of the Kinect. It seems to be slightly better as far as the voice commands. You can do a lot more with the voice commands. Like you can go through do a lot more instead of saying just pause and play. And I didn't use my Xbox 360's Kinect too much because it was so buggy that it ended up just breaking. Like I didn't even use it after the first 3 months.
Yeah, I still have mine, and it works okay most of the time. But I don't push it past its limit.
Yeah, and it's very limited. I did not like it. I ended up taking it off of my Xbox before. At the end of 3 months, I was done with it. My daughter was kind of upset about that because she liked the fact that she could talk to the Xbox, which I think that's why everyone gets an Xbox One, period, because you can talk to it. It's a machine you can talk to. That's awesome. So pros, you can talk to your machine. You can have an emotional connection with your machine,
right?
And have a repertoire with your machine if it can maintain a robotic speech pattern. So. With that said, there are games, there are apps, like you mentioned, that are very Kinect focused, and I think that is something that will be missing if you get one without it. But pro of getting an Xbox without a Kinect is that price drop.
Yep, price is huge.
You can justify dropping $399, maybe. I don't know. In this day and age, that's anything over $100 is kind of a expenditure for me that I would prefer not to have. But technology's technology, and I got to have that tech. So gotta have it. So pros are you don't use it as much as you think you would, so it's not that noticeable if you don't have a Kinect. You can do everything that you can do with the Kinect with your controller. You don't necessarily need it. It is an add-on that you can buy, aftermarket. A lot of people don't like the fact that it can have the capability as when Xbox One came out with their initial, hey, we're coming out with Xbox One and it's got the Kinect and it's going to be on all the time, and then they dropped the bomb where it's on all the time. It's recording, it's listening into everything you're saying, so that whenever you say
Big Brother style,
yeah, Big Brother style. A lot of people didn't like that. Now it turns off, supposedly turns off, So there's a pro for that. Some people don't want it, don't like it. I can understand it, I can get it, I can jump on board with that. Cons for me, without having an Xbox Kinect, like we said, there are a lot of apps that you can't use. Skype, obviously, you gotta have that.
Skype is cool for Xbox One. It really is.
What's the purpose of getting?
We did it that one time. That was awesome.
That was amazing. I mean, and I could snap that. There's a lot of programs you can snap that would require you to use a Kinect to flow through it quicker, better.
Yep.
To me, I mean, maybe there's people out there who are more comfortable with the controller.
How would you even snap without the Kinect?
I think there's ways that you can do it with a controller, but it's not as easy, and you can't just say Xbox go to here, Xbox, bring it. Like I just did some artwork, and I wanted a picture up for reference on the left side of the screen, the large part of the screen, and I wanted to listen to some music on YouTube or whatever, so I could snap that to the right
on your TV,
let it on my TV, and I just sit there and use it instead of a light board or whatever, and I came out with some pretty good artwork out of it. So. For me, having the Kinect is better. I would not want to get the Xbox One without the Kinect, but it's a con for me to buy it. So for me, I would not want to buy it without a Kinect, but I can see why people would want to buy it without a Kinect.
As a guy who's been waiting, I've been tempted by fate here. Yeah. I have the option of buying it with it now or waiting until I have more money saved up and buying it with the Kinect. I'm going to wait and buy it with the Kinect only because I feel like. If I'm going to spend that much money, I want all the features, not, 2/3.
You want peripherals that it came out with.
Right.
I mean, it's built for that, like you said.
So, I'm going to go. I mean, and no knock on guys that do buy it for less, but it's just like, if you're going to spend that kind of money, why not just save an extra $100?
Yeah,
and get it with the Kinect. I mean, that's what it was built for. It's like
all your friends who. Have been talking about an Xbox One have the Kinect because it's not available. It was just recently available without the Kinect.
Right.
So those who have been talking about it and been trying to convince you to buy it, they've already got a Kinect. So they're going to want to talk to you. They're going to want to, unless you get the headset or you've got, you buy a Kinect aftermarket, or whatever.
Third party or
whatever. Third party, or I don't think there is a third party, but...
probably not.
It's proprietary, proprietary tech. But,
yeah, I mean, the Skype portion of it, if you're a Skype person, it's legit. I mean, we did it once. I do all the time with my brother and his little daughter. We get on there, I talk to her, my niece, and she loves it. We love it. I mean, the Kinect portion for video calling is amazing. The clarity, the way it focuses in, the way it can tell who's talking, who's not talking. When someone leaves the room, it focuses on the person who's left in the room. It's that technology has gone a long way versus the old Kinect for Xbox 360 versus the Xbox One.
Definitely,
it's night and day.
Definitely.
And that, to me...
The camera is really good.
Oh, the camera's amazing.
And the recognition is... that's a cool feature. It recognizes you. It automatically signs you in.
Right.
That's cool.
Which the Xbox 360 did not do. The automatic signing thing is cool. Of course, it takes a little fine-tuning once it gets easier to your face. But update. But I'm all for Xbox One with the Kinect. If you're really tight on funds temporarily and you want to get it and you have to have it, then go for it.
You'll spend an extra $50 if you get it after.
Yeah, I mean, they'll probably charge 150 for it.
Yeah, so like 150 for the
Kinect.
For the Kinect, they'll make more money off of you if you don't get the Kinect. I'm assuming, that's just how business works. Why not?
Yeah, why not? But I mean, the Kinect, it looks cool. It's got the mount already on it for the TV. Or does it come with the mount?
No, that was a third party. I ended up getting that off of Amazon.com. By the way, Skype and Amazon.com are not sponsors.
But if they wanted to,
if they want to be,
hey, Skype,
take
Amazon,
Take that money.
We will promote your stuff on our show.
Shamelessly.
We will take your money and we will talk all about your products.
Walmart.
I used Amazon just the other day. Oh, Walmart.
Do you hear us, Walmart?
Walmart. Hey.
We just went there today to purchase
some nice
specific
adult beverages.
Yes, very nice.
And they are fantastic.
And they are.
So Walmart, hey, if you want those money, that's too. Not a lot of money. We'll take whatever you got.
We're not saying that we need $100.
Shamelessly.
We're not saying that Steven needs an extra $100 to buy his Xbox One with a Kinect.
We're not saying that.
But we are saying that.
But I'll take the money. Thank you, Walmart, Amazon, Skype.
All right, that's it for us at the Video Game Detectives. Thanks for listening to our garbage. We'll talk to you later.
Later.
When I was come down the hill to the shore, as I said above, being the southwest point of the island, I was perfectly confounded and amazed. Nor is it possible for me to express the horror of my mind at seeing the shore spread with skulls, hands, feet, and other bones of human bodies. And particularly, I observed a place where there had been a fire made, and a circle dug in the earth like a cockpit, where it is supposed the savage wretches had sat down to their inhuman feastings upon the bodies of their fellow creatures.
Hey guys! We present our newest magical contributor, Perception Check, where Eric and Ken talk about the world of RPG. Yep, that's right, RPGs. Now here they are!
Hello, I'm Ken.
This is Eric.
And we are Perception Check. Today we are going to be talking about player etiquette. Now, basically what I mean by that is what to do and what not to do while sitting around the table.
Yeah, absolutely. There's basically a right way to play an RPG and a completely wrong and annoying way.
Now, back when I started role-playing, and not really until recently, this wasn't an issue, but now it really is, and that is cell phones, tablets.
It's a big one.
Yeah, and it's just having them out at the table. Unless it's important, or like say your girlfriend or wife is going into labor, I really don't feel that phones are a necessity at the table. But with tablets, it's kind of a little bit more difficult because a lot of people now have digital character sheets. So, I mean, that's a big thing with me, especially with gaming, is try to keep it on task.
Well, what it is there's some RPG systems where combat sometimes may take a little while. So when it comes onto your turn, maybe you're looking through your skills, trying to figure out what spell can I use now, what can I cast this spell? No, he's too far away. Meanwhile, everyone else at the table is waiting for you to go. They can't do anything until you take your turn. So it comes down to, well, is it right for that person to take their cell phone out and start looking through Facebook while the other person's looking?
And that's actually one of my brother-in-law's biggest pet peeves, is he hates, because the way that he plays and the way that I play, we normally have our turns planned out 4 to 5 turns in advance. And that's just how we think. And he gets kind of bothered and irritated with people who don't think the same way.
Well, that was one of the big drawbacks of D&D 4th Edition. D&D 4th Edition was less, you walk into a room, there's a guy in front of you, do you want to attack him? Okay, roll these dice. It was more of, okay, you walk into this room, here's this map with a grid out, put your miniature here, okay, well, there's an enemy right here, you're 4 squares away, you have a spell that does X amount of damage, but you have to be within 3 squares, and so 4th Edition, that's where a lot of diehard RPG players hate that game, because there's a lot of trying to figure out, well, I need to be in this distance for this spell to have its maximum effect. And I think that is less effective combat system than just, okay, what do you want to do? Okay, what do you want to do? Okay, what do you want to do?
And it was also, I mean, with the older editions, it was all in feet. Even if you played with the grid map, each square was considered to be 5 feet, not 1 square. Whereas with 4th edition, it's all squares, and movement is you can move this many squares as opposed to 20 feet, which is 4 squares, or however many if you're moving diagonal. But
right, now, but I mean, that could take a lot of time. Like I said, especially you have a new player, and I mean, new players are the toughest because a lot of times maybe you've made a character for them. So they have to look through all their cards, they're trying to figure out on their character sheet. Meanwhile, the person who's going next, rather than trying to figure out what they're going to do, maybe they already have an idea of what they want to do, but they got to wait for this other person to figure out what they're going to do first. So is it right for that person to just sit there and wait?
Kind of brings up another very good point. Be tolerant of your fellow gamers. You're here to have a good time, and you're here to have fun. So, I mean, if someone is sitting there constantly on their cell phone, maybe try to give them a heads up. Be like, hey, can you put that away? Hey, is it really important? You know, is your wife going into labor? Kind of thing. No? Okay, can you put it away? I think I'm going to try using that at my next game night.
Your wife's going to labor? Great, well, roll for initiative first, and then...
Your wife's going into labor and you're rolling for initiative. I don't think you're where you're supposed to be.
Well, it depends on the game. The other thing I worry about, when you have a lot of people, say you have a RPG group of 6 players, right? Table talk.
Yeah, absolutely.
When you're trying to maybe give narration or exposition, you're trying to set a scene, and they start talking to each other about something maybe outside the game, or maybe they're even joking about something in the game, they're laughing to each other. Think of it like you're watching a movie and you're talking during the movie.
Yeah, and I mean, my first big D&D group was actually 8 people. And it was 8 people all sitting around in a college dorm room. So we actually came to an agreement as a group that there would be a catchphrase to where if it was said, all other discussion would stop. And that was 3, 2, 1 in game. And everybody would immediately shut up, pay attention, and go on with what we were doing in the game.
How do you feel about drinking playing an RPG?
I've experienced RPGs where drinking is involved. I've experienced RPGs where too much drinking is involved.
I'm not talking about Mountain Dew here, I'm talking about...
Can I have Mountain Dew? Sorry.
I'm talking about Mountain Dew with vodka. That kind of drinking.
As long as it's done in an intelligent manner, like it's not like your goal is to get sloshed and then play a game.
I mean, yeah, you don't want to go all Elliot Ness on somebody. At the same time, you don't want them to get drunk to the point where they become, well, belligerent. And they basically ruin the game for you, trying to play it, and the dungeon master who's trying to tell a story, trying to control the game. It's hard to control the game when you get one player who's just laughing at everything, going crazy.
I think that one would actually fall to the DM or GM of the game, and really that the person who's running the game knowing their players. But that's a topic for another time.
So a big thing that also bothers me when I'm playing a game with somebody, if that person maybe gets bored, or they just want to just mess with the DM, and maybe they come across, there's a room full of merchants, and the DM really is just planning on this, so you can buy wares, you can buy items, but instead this guy's like, you know what, I'm going to kill one of these merchants, which is fine, but maybe he goes into the room, he's like, okay, I kill everyone, are there any guards around? DM's like, well, no, this is a little merchant area. He's like, I kill everybody.
From a DM perspective, I would look at the character or the person's character sheet and see what the alignment of the character is. In a game system that has something like alignment, that is what I would go by. Other than that, I don't know how I would handle that situation.
Alignment. Well, I mean, I would basically just, if you're a player, you should kind of know your limits. I mean, you should have a character in mind when you're playing your character. You shouldn't be playing the game, if that makes any sense. Think of it, you're a character in a movie. How would that character respond to a situation? Would you character, if you created a character who was so evil, he would just go into a room and start slaughtering innocent people, then maybe your group would turn on you and kill you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a very, very valid point there.
If you're playing a character and maybe you've been a lawful good paladin, right? And all the way through the game you're doing good stuff, but then maybe you just want to mess around and start killing people just to mess with the DM.
That's not playing your character at all. I mean, if you're lawful good, you're on the straight and narrow road, and you're even feeling bad about killing the people that you're killing because they're attacking you, kind of thing.
And that may come down to the group. I mean, if you're in an RPG group, maybe a new guy comes, maybe he doesn't take it seriously. That's another thing I like to stress to players. So you don't have to take RPGing dead serious. I mean, you don't have to come dressed up in character. You don't do any of that. But don't purposely try to ruin it for everyone else just because you think it's silly. I mean, there's a difference between having a sense of humor about role-playing and your character, maybe, and just not taking it seriously at all.
Or you should be playing an RPG with other people who are also smart Alex.
Well, I mean, yeah, so we named a few things that you definitely want to keep in mind when you're playing in an RPG group. And again, we're not saying you can't do any of these things. We're not saying you can never pull out your phone in a downtime. Maybe the DM's talking with someone else about their character, out of character. I mean, at something like that, yeah, so you can certainly take out your phone, making it excessive. I mean, constantly taking out your phone. The DM's describing a room and you're looking at Facebook or Twitter. Getting drunk. That's a big thing with me. I mean, I love drinking like anyone else, and I love people getting drunk around me, especially when they're fun drunks. But a lot of times, if everyone's trying to play an RPG, meanwhile you're sitting there getting sloshed, maybe you need to tone it back because you realize, well, this isn't really a party time. We're actually playing a game and trying to have fun that way. Anything you want to add, Ken?
No, I got nothing, unfortunately. I feel like I'm just kind of sitting here and just letting you go with it. But
you're a model player?
I fully agree with everything that you've said.
It's good to hear.
You've been listening to Perception Check with Eric and Ken. Tune in next time where we discuss tips for better DMing.
You've been listening to the Huff-N-Stuff podcast, where train games and chibi games are not allowed.
I laid me down flat on my belly on the ground and began to look for the place. I presently found there was no less than 9 naked savages sitting round a small fire they had made, not to warm them, for they had no need of that, the weather being extreme hot, but as I suppose, to dress some of their barbarous diet of human flesh, which they had brought with them, whether alive or dead, I could not know. It is not easy to imagine what confusion this sight put me into, especially seeing them come on my side the island, and so near me too.
And now, it's time for Word of the Day.
That's right, Elise. Now we're on to Word of the Day. Now, Instead of talking about word of the day this time, we are going to be talking about, it's an award of board games, and the reason why I thought this would be interesting, because not only am I starting to run out of words of the day here, but I thought it would be interesting to talk about an award. And this is the most prestigious award in board gaming history. For those of you who don't know, Spiel des Jahres is the German Game of the Year award. And for whatever reason, more people pay attention to this award than any other award for a board game.
I'm not surprised to hear that. I know that Germany is a huge proponent of the gaming industry, and I know a lot of good games come out of Germany and Europe. So.
Right. The Spiel des Jahres is an award for board games or card games it started in 1978 with the stated purpose of rewarding excellence in game design, and it promotes top quality games in the German market. This award is usually given by a jury of German-speaking board game critics, and the games that are considered for the award are usually family-styled games. Games that word games, role-playing games, collectible card games, and other complicated, highly competitive, or hobbyist games are usually outside of the scope of the award, but I've seen some games that was nominated that were very complex and not very family-friendly. Since 1989, there has been a separate award for children's games. That's really good to know, because I believe that that's where most of us got our start, really. I mean, when you're a kid sitting around and it's a rainy day, or it's, in the case of Phoenix, it's too hot outside.
Yep.
It's 115, 114, whatever, and you can't go outside, it's too hot. So I know that a lot of Arizonians, as children, that's when they play games, when they get started in this hobby. So it's great that Spiel des Jahres has children's games. Now, the last game that won the Spiel des Jahres was Hanabi. It's a card game, for those of you who don't know.
I've not even heard of it.
What?
Is this bad? I know, it's terrible.
You've never heard of Hanabi? Hanabi is a game where all the cards face out from you. So you see everyone else's cards.
Okay, never mind, I have heard of it.
Okay, you have heard of it, right? And everyone has been going bonkers over this game. Now, I have not played it yet, so I can't say whether it's a great game or not. It's innovative, I'll tell you that. The artwork is subpar, the concept is okay, and some of the mechanisms are interesting, but it's not something I'm really interested in. The one before that, 2012, was Kingdom Builder. I played that, by the way. And Kingdom Builder is a good game. The 2011 was Quirkle. I've not played Quirkle before.
I've seen it.
Yeah,
I haven't played it.
I've seen lots of it, right? But it looks so stinking boring to me. I'm not big on checkers. Those abstract. Quirkle's an abstract game, and I'm not really into abstract games, but it won the award. Dixit, it was in 2010. These are just some examples of the Spiel des Jahres. Spiel des Jahres, it's a big deal in Europe, especially in Germany. I know it's becoming more and more popular here. People know about it, and when the game gets that award, it's huge. I mean, they're going to be selling tons of them. I would say that if Spiel des Jahres, if I had my say, it would have multiple categories.
Okay.
That would be my only negative on it, is how can you give one game the best game?
Yeah.
There's so many good games out there, and they're all in so many great different categories. They really need to do it like the Oscars do. Oscars have the best film. They have the best, leading actor, the best supporting actor, all that. This hobby's getting that big, it needs to do that.
I think so. I don't think there's any harm in it. It's nothing but good could come of that, I don't
Nothing but good, right? And how hard would it be to expand that, right? The problem is you have to play a lot of games.
Yes.
And I certainly wouldn't want to be a judge on that. Although, I would say, if you're going to have judges, the more judges, the better for something like that.
Yeah.
So, what is your thought about this award? When was the first time you heard of Spiel des Jahres?
Spiel des Jahres, well, I've only been following gaming for, a year and a half now.
Oh, so I say you're
I'm relatively
to 2
new
years.
to, not quite. I mean, I heard about it fairly early on, because I think, Ticket to Ride won Spiel des Jahres, because Ticket to Ride came out of Europe. I know there are several really big games that came out of Europe, but I know about really, really, really early on when I was getting started in gaming. So I heard about it right away.
It's kind of ingrained, isn't it?
Uh-huh.
And I think that's why I'm like you. As soon as I started getting into the hobby, it came at me right away.
Yep.
And I think it's because it's so ingrained into the hobby right now. And so that's why, if you've not heard of it, I'm surprised. If you're just new into the hobby, you're going to be hearing a lot more of it in the future.
Yes.
And so, like I said, we wanted to do something a little different from Word of the Day, and there you go. That's Spiel des Jahres.
In that very moment, this poor wretch, seeing himself a little at liberty, and he started away from them, and ran with incredible swiftness along the sands directly towards me. I was dreadfully frightened, that I must acknowledge, when I perceived him to run my way, and especially when, as I thought, I saw him pursued by the whole body. I kept my station, and my spirits began to recover when I found that there was not above 3 men that followed him. And still more was I encouraged when I found that he outstripped them exceedingly in running and gained ground on them, so that if he could but hold it for half an hour, I saw easily he would fairly get away from them all.
And now it's time for our main topic.
And that's right, Elise. Now we're on to our main topic, which is Robinson Crusoe. Now, this game came out from Z-Man Games in 2013 by designer Ignacy Trzewiczek.
That's close.
Yeah, he had made a game before this called Stronghold, and it is fairly popular. It's not as popular as some of the other games that some of the other famous designers have gotten. Yeah. And one of the reasons why I wanted to have this game as one of our main topics was a few things. This game is slowly rising in my ranks of favorite game. And also because it's fairly new game and there's a ton of people talking about it. So I thought it would be a good idea for us to highlight this game and talk about it so that those of you who have not heard of this game or have not played it, you get a little bit more information on it. Now, let me go over some things about it. One of the biggest things with this game is it's hotly debated. This game has a difficulty level debate. It has a lot of scenarios in the box. When you get the box, it's not just one game. You, in essence, you're getting a good 6 or 7 games within one box.
Yeah, there's 6 scenarios, I know that.
And it has great theme, it has great components, interesting characters. It's based on some literatures of being shipwrecked with family Robinson.
Well, there is a book, Robinson Crusoe, written years, long time ago.
Right. It's an old book for sure. It's got some interesting mechanics. It's got some bad things. It's got some good things. But before we get into that, let me ask you, Stephen. You have played this a few times. So what's your initial thoughts about this game?
It's brutal.
Okay, now I had initially said one of my points in the beginning here was that it's the difficulty level debate. It's still a debate that's hotly contested, by the way. That if you go to BGG.com and some other places, people are kind of angry.
Yeah. No, I only played the initial scenario because I'm not familiar enough with the rules to go. The rule book kind of walks you through the basic scenario.
Right.
So I didn't want to go into something else and just bite off more than I could chew. We played once, and then you let me borrow the game preparing for this. I've played it partially. I didn't complete it because it took me longer to set up than I had time set aside to play the game. It is a good game, and I do like the theme. The visuals of the game are great and everything. But yeah, I do think the difficulty, at least of the initial scenario, is pretty darn tough. And I realized that when we had played, I think you had removed some of the more difficult beasts that you can go hunting against.
Right.
And I mean, some of them that I remember because I was the soldier and I was generally hunting when we played, that it was tough enough with the beasts that you left in, and some of these are like 2-3 times more difficult to take out. Holy smoke.
Okay, that is a good segue into really the main topic of this game, which is the difficulty level. I know that there is this thought among game designers, and I'm not just talking board games, I'm talking video game designers as well.
Yep.
When you go out and buy a game, and we're talking now about video games, and what I mean is that I have bought games that were so difficult, I played it a little bit and I just threw it away almost. I never played the game again. The good news about board games is you can alter it slightly, put in some house rules, and you can get through it.
Yep.
So you didn't waste your money. Whereas in a video game, there's no way around it. You've just kind of wasted your cash.
Yeah, no, I agree.
So that's the good news about the difficulty level. Now, when I first bought this game, I bought it because I absolutely loved the theme, and it came highly touted. Everyone was talking about this game when it came out. Early 2013, mind you.
Yeah.
But because they had some difficulties with the printings of this game, Z-Man had been bought out by a Canadian conglomerate or person.
Okay.
And they were having problems producing this game. Among other games, they're having trouble producing other games as well. But in this particular one, our game store came through, Imperial Outpost, and they had one in stock, and so I ran up there and bought it because it's hard to find. Again, going back to my original thing, is that the difficulty level, when I first started playing through this, I loathed this game. I was like, crap, I paid almost $80 for this game. Why would they do this to me? At the time, I was really frustrated.
I understand.
So what I started doing is going through the game, play it through many times. Instead of having just one pistol, like you can get a pistol with your starting items, get 2. And then I would try altering the dice, like taking out the weather dice, because weather is a huge part of this game. When the weather comes, you're going to be screwed if you don't have your shelter built.
Yeah.
That food is also a huge thing with this game. So by altering each one of those, and I went through and I tried altering little pieces of that game, little by little, until I found out what was the most minor way to alter it, because I didn't want to alter the vision of the designer. too much. But I wanted to alter it in a minor way so that it made it playable and it made it an enjoyable experience, because after all, that's what most gamers are after. And we want to experience the game. And I'm fascinated by games that have this survival theme to it. Like, there used to be a TV show, I saw it through Netflix Live, where it was a British show. It was basically, I think the theme was, I can't believe I survived, or something like this. It was a weird, it was a weird title. I don't know if you've seen this show. But it was people that were hiking, or maybe they were running and they got in a tight spot and then they broke a leg and then they couldn't get back. And so it was their tale of survival. Yeah. And I watched every episode because I thought that was the most amazing show, because I was always fascinated by what people would do, what lengths that they would go to survive, dying or whatever, right? Being eaten by animals or whatever. And this game has that theme, right? And for those of you who think you're getting a Robinson Crusoe game, you're really not. This is not Robinson Crusoe.
The title is kind of just
deceiving.
Slapped on there.
It's totally deceiving, because yes, you are playing as a Robinson Crusoe character, but they don't even have a character in it that says Robinson Crusoe. There's no characters in there that says you're Robinson Crusoe. No. And the reason why they don't do that, I think, because if you're going to do that, you'd have to play it like the book said. Yeah. Like, in the book, when you're starting out, Robinson Crusoe, when he landed on that beach, he pulled all of that stuff off of the boat that was shipwrecked nearby where he was, and he pulled all those elements to make shelter, to make food. He couldn't last forever on that food, but it sustained him till he got things set up, right? Yeah. And so he had a dog with him, which it's in the game. There's all these things that they would have had to follow a little more closely, and that was one of my complaints. And when I went on to BGG, I ripped this game. I went on there and did a review, and I just ripped it to shreds. Now my view of this has gotten a little bit better over the time, and it's because I've house ruled some things in it. But I mean, I absolutely love the theme of it. I absolutely love some of the mechanics. It, in a sense, is like a Euro game, wouldn't you say?
Yeah. I liked it. I know we fudged a few of the rules, right? But I enjoyed the game. I wouldn't say, even as difficult as it was to complete, even with a few rules that we missed or whatever, I enjoyed it, and I felt that the game was worth playing. Right. And it was a good time. I mean, I wouldn't say that it's a bad game, even to a high difficulty, because it is worth playing.
Right. And I think that, for my purposes, my only beef would be two things. That they should have levels. Just like you would if you were playing another game, you would have levels that will have difficulty. That needs to be inherent within the rules, number one. Number two, the expense of the game is just crazy. Yeah. There's no way this game should be $80, because once you have tax added onto it or shipping, it's going to be $80. This game should be closer to $50. Now, I know people are going to argue with me, well, you get all these great pieces, but honestly, I have a hard time agreeing with that.
I don't think the components are all that good for an $80 game. Yeah. You have a lot of just little wooden cubes and things like that you're using. Some of them are plastic, I guess. Right. But it's the components like for food. Your icons are all showing you like bananas and things like that. Right. But you get a yellow cube. Or fur, you get a little white cube. And it didn't stand out to me. I thought that it was a little cheap for price of the game, right? Or what it should be.
So value, I guess, is you could argue that is what is a little annoying. I mean, we're not angry, I guess you'd say, but this is one of the reasons why my brother, who just absolutely won this game really bad, he never bought it because of the price point. Yeah, he instead bought a game called Castaway. Okay, now this is a great segment and segue into our next part of the topic, which is what are games that are like it, that in a sense are survival exploring / games. Now, he bought Castaways. This game was very highly rated as well. Not quite as publicized as Robinson Crusoe, but it was touted as a good game. Now, I went, last time I was in California and I stayed with my brother, we played it. And I would say it's a great game. The only difference is it feels more like a story than a game. So, basically, your goal is to go from the bottom of the mountain to the top of the mountain to light a signal fire so that the boat comes, they can see you. Okay. Similar at the first scenario. Right.
Mm-hmm. Robinson Crusoe.
But you're going to the top, and they have a better name, in my opinion, than Robinson Crusoe. In my opinion, Robinson Crusoe, they stole it so that they could sell more copies of the game.
That's what I felt.
It's publicity to help sell the game. And to me, that's a cheap trick. Castaways. Great game. Love the theme. Love the title. And as you're going up on the mountain, there's a little illustration on the board of the mountain. And as you're trekking, going across that mountain, you pull cards, and it'll tell you what like an event deck.
Okay, yeah.
And then you're experiencing certain things, and you can respond in a way or not, and you get certain things. And in a way, the levels, they have levels in the game. You can increase the level or decrease it. And I had almost as fun with this. The only difference is that Castaways, the art is not very good. I do not like the artwork.
It looked a little like cartoony,
It looked a little cartoony, a little cheesy. And some of the color schemes they used.
Yeah.
Now, Robinson Crusoe, the artwork and colors they used, like the color palette they used, which is something we don't really talk about, is really good. Like, it had a very neutral palette, is what they would say in the art world. Really beautiful.
Yeah, not a lot of bright colors, except for, you get like your hunting deck, the beast cards,
right.
or like a bright danger red,
right.
You know what I mean?
It fits.
So it does fit, but everything else is more, adventuring. The deck is green, like a really nice shade of green, like jungle green. So it feels like I'm going in the jungle deck here. So
right.
I'm gonna go search through the jungle here and try and find things.
And that would be my other complaint about the game, is that the creatures on this island, I mean, they might as well have put in a dragon on the island, because they put in things that make no sense. Like, they've got a Bengal tiger on a island in the South Seas. How does that work? They've got a panther. I've never heard of a panther being on an island. Okay, you have to kind of go with it and buy into it. But this kind of stuff annoys me. And it's like when you watch a movie and there's something in there and you're like, where did that come from? It breaks your
immersion.
That's a perfect word. Thank you. And that's why I'm just like, why do you do that?
I agree. I felt the same way playing, but it, not to bash the game too much, because it is a good game and it is worth playing, like I said before.
And I was going to say that this game, the stock is rising in it, because once I figured out some little changes, it makes the game fairly enjoyable. It's just that kind of stuff we're talking about. We're critiquing the game, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
There are 3 other games that are within this genre that I sort of noted that we should briefly say that are like it. Lost Valley is one of them. And I know this game had just recently had it was made in, I believe, the late 70s, early 80s, when it was first came out. It certainly looked that way anyways. And so they just had it reprinted, and I would love to get this game. It sounds interesting to me. You're mining in a North American forest, and you get lost, and then you have to find your way out. And so it's similar in that way.
Okay.
You got weather, and you have to find food, and this kind of stuff. So that sounds really interesting. The artwork could be better, just like Castaways. But the mechanics are so good. There's exploring there. I love games that have exploring part. There's the other one called K2. Now, I know this one's been out for a while.
I've seen some stuff about K2. Not a whole lot.
It looks really interesting to me, because I'm very fascinated by mountain climbers.
Yeah. Let's define K2 as far as the game describes. And I guess I've never heard of K2. But K2 is apparently the second highest mountain on Earth. Yeah. So the game is about climbing to the peak of K2, this very, very high mountain.
Right.
And I guess apparently it has like a very high ratio of people that attempt to make the peak, perish.
Right.
Because it's such a perilous trek.
Right.
So that's the whole theme of this game. I guess it seemed to hit that fairly well.
Yes, and it's a very popular game. And what's funny is that not up until recently have I really heard too much about this game. This game, I believe, came out in 2011 or 2012. Maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe it came out even earlier than that.
I don't remember.
But there's a few guys that I've heard on the internet who just think it's the best thing since sliced bread. I mean, they just love it. Now, I don't know if they're very into rock climbing or mountain climbing, whatever. Now, the other one that I mentioned was Forbidden Desert. This is a new one that just came out in 2013, I believe it was.
Yeah, it just came out last year.
Right. I think it was at the beginning of the year, I think.
I forget. I haven't played Forbidden Desert.
Really?
I know, it's terrible. Because I love Forbidden Island.
You do. I know you do.
So the first one was Forbidden Island.
Right.
And I forget the release date or the year that Forbidden Island came out. It's not that old.
Right.
But Forbidden Island is a great, really, really simple cooperative game. And the thing that jumps to me about Forbidden Island is it's so simple, yet so much fun because it gets so intense as that island starts sinking underneath you.
Right.
So I know Forbidden Desert is more complex. They've added some different mechanics, different things. You're in a city that's being covered, or not a city? No?
A desert.
Okay. Well, you're being covered by you've got ruins and things that you're searching, right?
Comes across, like, have you ever seen the film The Flight of the Phoenix?
Oh, yes.
There was one with Dennis Quaid, and then he had a crew or something of this cargo airplane, and they crashed in the desert.
Original,
and then there's the original,
in like the 60s or
late
60s.
Right. Basically, they have to piece together the airplane to get out of the desert.
Yeah.
And structurally, it seems to be an impossible thing. I don't know how it's Hollywood, right? Yeah. Anyways, this is kind of what this game is like. The airplane is crashed in the Forbidden Desert, and you have to go find the pieces put it together, similar to Forbidden Island.
Okay.
You're finding these things, but in this case, there's different reasons for it. And not only that, but you have to find water so that you don't die because it's hot.
There's oases, and isn't one of them a mirage, so one of them's not really there?
Not really there. And you have to triangulate where things are.
Okay.
So you can find this and you can find this, and then you triangulate it, and that's where it is.
Okay.
And it's a very interesting mechanic. And this game that you don't hear enough about as well. And the beautiful thing about this game that does not in Forbidden Island is it looks three-dimensional. Because once the sands start building up, they're different sizes. So you start building up, and it looks like actually sand dunes.
Yeah, it does stand out.
It's awesome. Now, this game is the most tight. If you were to play this game just like Forbidden Island, it's been play tested, the rules, everything's tight. So when you play it, it's a really complete game.
Yeah.
That's where I believe Robinson Crusoe, it teeters a little bit on rules. There's a little bit too much convoluted elements in the game. Now, I know I'm bashing it again. It's overly complex when it doesn't need to be in certain things.
Yeah, I think I agree. Mm-hmm.
Castaways, when you play it, and one day you will, it is simplified. It's a simplified version of Robinson Crusoe. Now, Robinson Crusoe has different mechanics.
Like I told you when I was researching Castaways, because I've not played it, but doing research, I kept going and looking at the rules and seeing how people describe things, and I'm going, this seems like a ripoff, but I guess it's not a ripoff. It's just not. It's a similar theme, so it's like,
it's very similar.
It's very similar, but I guess there have been a lot of similar stories throughout history. So
right.
I guess a lot of the mechanics seem to play close, but not identically, so it's not...
The mechanisms are a little different in that it's more of a storytelling game than Robinson Crusoe. However, Robinson Crusoe, once you're done, you're like, wow, remember we did this, and we did that, and we went through this, and we survived. So lots of games are like that. They become a story that you remember, later. You're like, oh yeah, I remember this, and this happened, when it's a good gaming experience. Now, are these games, and I often will say this, when we have a game and we're focusing on one game on an episode, I'll often throw out the question, are these games better or worse than Robinson Crusoe? Now, it's really hard to say if something's better or worse. It really is hard. Mm-hmm. However, I would say that Robinson Crusoe has certain elements that keep it from being great. I would say it's a good game.
Yes.
Very solid, very good game.
It's
not great. It's by no means even close to being Spiel des Jahres material.
No, even if it was qualified, definitely not.
But even if it was mentioned for Spiel des Jahres, I'd be like, you're crazy. Because as much as I like the game, and I enjoy playing it, by the way, it's not that good. It needs to be streamlined. Yeah. It needs to change the name. I'm sorry.
Yep.
I'm sorry. I can't deal with that name. And
why don't they just call it Adventures on the Cursed Island? That's the rest of the title, Robinson Crusoe, or Adventures on the Cursed Island,
or Shipwreck. That would have been a perfect name.
Go figure.
And it would have been perfect. It would have fit in with all the scenarios and all that. We're going off on a little tangent here, but the point is that it's a great experience. Enjoy it. Have a great time. Price point's a little high. It needs to come down. It needs to be more available, too. If they had it more available and at a cheaper price, Z-Man Game would be making a lot more cash than it is now.
I would think so.
Yeah. So that is our basic overview of Robinson Crusoe. Hopefully you've gotten something out of this. Hopefully you won't necessarily go out and buy it until you try it, because I think that's the key. I think you need to go out and at least watch it being played. There is a video that I always say that I enjoy watching. His name is Ricky Royal. He's on the YouTube channel, and that's how I learned to play the game. I would advise you to watch that before you buy it, too.
That is the name of his channel, his persona on YouTube, Ricky Royal. So that's what you're looking for.
Again, I don't want people to think that love this game that we hate it. I don't hate it at all. And that's our main topic.
You want to be entertained some more, do you? Okay, well, let's just see what we can do here. Let's go with an off-topic.
And that's right, now we're on to our off-topic, and today I thought we would talk about difficult situations for the gamer. And this difficult situation, and I would like to, I guess you could say, family social contract, okay? Basically what we're going to be talking about is sociology, how we interact with people, and I guess that's what I've often tried to steer the off-topic towards, is social aspects of humanity and how we deal with each other. And in this particular thing, I'm going to talk about what do you do when someone brings their toddler and this toddler is behaving badly or bratty or obnoxious or whatever negative term that you want to use for this child. First of all, a lot of gamers haven't had to deal with this ever. No. And I would say good for you, because there are times that this happens. Yep. That there are times where a family comes over and there's another family. Sometimes we have a family that comes over all the time. No, they don't have kids that are that young. I would suggest, if this is going to happen, if you're going to have a family member over, like let's say you have a cousin coming over and they have toddlers, let's say, I would suggest either getting a babysitter. If they can't get a babysitter, bribe one of your friends' neighbors to come over and watch them and, give them something or whatever. Maybe you could have your wife over watching the kid and take turns going back and forth with, okay, one game I'm going to watch the kid, then the next game you go and watch kids and go bring out a coloring book. Now, whenever I go to the game store, I have a couple of coloring books that I throw into my bag. So if there's ever a kid there, I whip out the coloring book or the little kids game, and I give it to them so that they're... Now, oftentimes what will happen is they're seeing us over there cheering, woohoo, or whatever, and then they get like, oh, well, I want to be involved too. Yeah. Have you ever had this happen to you, Steven?
I haven't had any badly behaved children involved in game nights. I have done a game night. Some cousins came over and brought their kids. Yeah. One very young baby, and then one was, she's now a year old. So she was not quite a year at the time, but well-behaved kids. And my one cousin was playing games, and his wife was looking after the kid. So it's kind of depends. I mean, I guess if you want to avoid it, I don't think there's anything wrong in saying don't bring kids. Some people can't always have that. There's not two people, or they maybe can't get a babysitter. So having something to distract the children is, a good idea. Have some toys.
Well, it's true. I mean, this is a hard one, isn't it? This is a really hard one, because what do you say, right?
Yeah, you don't want to offend anyone.
No, but exactly. I mean, there are some parents that would say, how dare you tell me how to raise my child? I've heard that comment come up every now and then.
Doesn't surprise me.
Yeah. Like, I know best, right? And everyone has their own opinions about life, about how to raise children, whatever. How to treat your pet. There's all kinds of things. And I've been known to go over to a friend's house and play board games, and the cat jumped up onto the board, and all the pieces were spread, and we had to start all over again. That has happened, too. So there are not a lot you can do to this situation. I would say, number one, that either you don't ask those people to come back again, because there is that option. And the ones that have the kids and the toddlers, right? Or you have a separate room for the kids to play the kids games. Yeah. Right? Like, I have 2 high school girls, and my oldest is pretty good with kids. Yeah. And so if we ask over someone that has a young child, I tell her, I go, Elise, I'll pay you $5 or $10 if you go play with the kid, and then on top of that, I'll let you stay up all night long the next weekend we have, and then she'll go play with it and help me out. Yeah. And the wife out, so we can do that. Now, that's a unique situation. Yeah. Not everyone has a teenager they can ask to do stuff for. Yeah. But that's one way of dealing with it. But at the end of the day, you need to know your friends. You need to know those friends and who has the kids and how well behaved they are, how much skills they have, and how they're dealing with those kids. Because more than likely, if you have a friend or a family member, as you said, like, holidays or something, you'll see how they interact and who's behaving properly and how they react to that child that's maybe doing something that they shouldn't be, right? Yeah. You've seen it, so you should know as a gamer. Yeah. Because I've seen parents let kids just run wild and ruining the house or ruining the store or whatever, right? You've seen those parents. And those are the kinds that are like shouldn't be around adult gaming.
I know there were instance, at least once, at the shop I saw a comment once that someone brought children in and weren't watching them, and they marked up a bunch of the with marker a bunch of the pieces that the shop has for people to use for their miniatures gaming. Oh wow. So they like drew on some of these, and one of them I think was a fairly rare piece. Or difficult to get piece that they marked all over. So it's a pretty big bummer, and I mean, I can't believe that some parents might be oblivious to the activities of their children like that, but that's something that people need to be aware of. But it's hard to avoid those situations. You can't predict that they're going to happen.
Yeah.
And you can't have a policy of no kids ever. Know who can talk to about it. And if you can't talk to them about it, well, there's the option of not inviting them back.
We're not suggesting that we are experts at child raising. I mean, I have 2 girls. They're both autistic, and they've definitely had social problems. And there have been times we've gotten dirty looks when we took the girls out when they were little, and that they were having little meltdowns or something, and they didn't understand that they were autistic or whatever, and that's okay. I was like kind of bummed that they were getting all upset, but it comes with territory. And so I understand what parents go through. So I certainly don't want to tell them what to do or how to do their child raising, child rearing, I guess say. But it is something, if you're that parent that has that toddler, my wife and I know that we can't leave our autistic kids home. They're older now, they're in high school. But this is a suggestion to those parents that have toddlers. We do not leave our kids unattended because they're autistic, they don't know social things. If a fire broke out of the house, they may not know what to do in the house. So one of us is always home at all times when they're home. We don't bring them to game nights. We don't bring them to movies sometimes because they can't handle the overstimulation of the movie because the music's loud or whatever. So I know that you want to hang out with your wife or your spouse, and I would even suggest that having that game night with your spouse is super important. You need to be doing things together to be a good couple. Yeah. It's a great thing to do. But in this case, when you have a toddler, someone needs to stay home with the kids. That would be my suggestion. I know that you don't want to not have one person not being involved with the fun. But say, Thursday nights, my wife is beautiful. She says, go ahead, Rob. Thursday nights, you go and have fun. Go be with the guys or the girls, whoever's at the game store, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. And she allows me to do that. And then I say, on the same token, she'll often go out with her friends, her girlfriends, and if they play a game like some cards, they don't really play board games, but if they will go and have a girls' night where they're drinking and they play some cards maybe at some girl's house, I'll go have a great time, and I stay home with the kids. That's a way we get around it. And I'm not suggesting everyone else does that. That's just my solution to our problem with our autistic kids. But is there anything you can really do with these people with the toddlers? No, there's nothing you can really do. I think Steven said it best when he said you just need to know who that person is that has those kids and who to invite to your gaming party. It's just a really sticky situation. There's really nothing you can really say to those people. So, with that, we are going to end this episode. We're so glad you came in. Continue to listen to us. I would even suggest, if you could, and this is a new request that I have not said before, if you could like us and even subscribe to our YouTube channel, we would appreciate that. I know Steven and I are excited about the future.
Absolutely.
And we depend on you guys to keep listening and to keep being excited like we're excited. I know every time we get together to record a new show, we're excited about it. So hopefully you enjoy it all.
Thanks for all your support, everybody.
Yep, and have a great holiday weekend. I know it won't be Memorial Day weekend when you listen to this, but hope that you have many more great Memorial Day weekends. I'm off to get some ribs there, buddy. So I don't know about you, but I'm out of here. See you later. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining the Huff-N-Stuff podcast. We hope you enjoyed listening and hope you can tune in next time. Huff-N-Stuff is brought to you by Southwestern Valley Gaming Group at swvalleygamingsgroup.webs.com. You can visit us on our webpage at huffnstuffpodcast.webs.com. That is HUFFNSTUFF podcast.webs.com. We love to hear from you, so leave us questions, feedback, or just say hi. As always, keep on smiling and game on.